All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is number 6. And I want to talk about business. Specifically, I think it was on the 4th, Logan Paul released, I think it was a tweet, about the whole CryptoZoo thing. And if you've no idea what I'm talking about, I'll try and explain it as simply as possible, but this isn't entirely about CryptoZoo. Basically, CryptoZoo was kind of like a monster raising game type thing that Logan Paul claimed to be making, and they technically did kind of somewhat make something. It just was nothing like the product that they had described. And part of it is you could buy these NFT eggs, and it was supposed to have like unlimited customization, or not customization, but iterations of monsters and things like that you could raise. And it was the thing that Logan Paul described actually sounded really cool, and actually sounded like an interesting way to use NFTs. For everyone that doesn't know, an NFT is a non-fungible token. It's basically something that has a unique digital signature to be able to prove that this particular piece of data is unique, and be able to track its history, so that you can have something that is digital but is also limited. You can't just like copy an NFT and go, well, look, I've got it too. You can copy an image attached to an NFT, but the actual NFT itself is a unique token. And there's a lot of cool things that people could possibly do with the technology behind NFTs. However, nobody's trying to do that. All they're trying to do is basically say, well, because it is unique, that means it is rare. And if it is rare, that means it has lots of money. Or it's worth lots of money. And so we're going to sell you these NFTs. And then because they're the only one in existence, the only thing that they'll ever do is get more valuable. Which isn't true. And NFTs have been shown to be a massive scam. And people have lost crap tons of money on them. So anyway, Logan Paul pitches this thing, starts selling these NFT backed things. And CryptoZoo never becomes a thing. They don't even get like a working... Sorry. They don't even get like a working alpha of it. But they are selling the eggs, I believe. And if I'm getting any of this wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. Again, the purpose of this is not to kind of explain what's going on with CryptoZoo or anything like that. The purpose of this is to talk about a bigger aspect of how business works. So, people started accusing him of running a scam and started accusing him of fraud and all that. Apparently, like a class action lawsuit is either being started or has actually been filed or something like that. Something legal is happening in relation to this, because when you look at everything that he did, it does look very, very damning. Now, none of this has been decided in court or anything. It's just allegations as far as I'm aware right now. So, innocent until proven guilty, blah, 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 blah. So, on the 4th, Logan Paul releases a tweet or something like that, saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and refund people for the eggs that they bought that are never going to turn into anything useful. And people started looking into it, and they found this little clause that basically said, hey, if you accept this refund in a much more legal terminology, basically you can't sue me for this. And everyone's going, oh my God, this is a scam. He's trying to manipulate people and get out of jail free and blah, 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 blah. And everyone is freaking out because this is the worst, most disgusting thing that anyone has ever done. And it really isn't. I am not here to defend Logan Paul. My personal opinion, and I want to emphasize this is a personal opinion. It is not based on any empirical. This is not based on any kind of legal knowledge or anything like that. This is just how I personally feel against him, and therefore is not defamatory in any way. He's an asshole. I don't like him. Don't like his brother. I think they kind of exemplify the worst parts of the YouTube community, to be perfectly honest. Because while the Paul brothers in general are definitely some of the biggest examples of people that I would never want to associate in the entirety of my life, they are by far not the only ones. A lot of the big, not all, don't come and say, well, this person isn't like that. Yeah, I know there's quite a few really awesome YouTubers, but it's getting closer and closer to the idea that they are the exception to the rule. A lot of big YouTubers and big TikTokers and big Twitch streamers are just scumbags. So this is not me saying that they're doing something right or that people are vilifying him for the wrong reasons. No, vilify away. I think he's a scumbag. However, the idea that this is just some massive scam to try and get out of a lawsuit isn't technically true. And to explain it using something that makes a little bit more sense to me, one of the companies that I worked for back when I could work, which is, I believe, not a company anymore. I believe they, shortly after lockdowns and everything, they just stopped operating because lockdowns just destroyed the entirety of the business. And I'm not going to tell specifically who they are because it was the last company I worked for, and it still makes me a little bit wary, even if the company is gone, to talk about it. But anyway, so this company was run remarkably poorly. Things like our point of sale software basically ran on DOS. And in order to, each one of the stores had to keep their own accounting books in green columnar notebooks. They didn't have a program to put that in. They didn't have something that automatically did it for us. We had to do all this stuff. We had to pay our electric bills by writing a check from the store bank account and then walking it over to the local business license office, or we had to pay our business license that way as well, but actually have to walk it over to the electric company and give them the check every month. All of these are remarkably stupid things for a business that had hundreds of stores across the country. So it was run remarkably poor. And my personal belief, again, this is a belief, this is just how I see things, was this was done intentionally to make it so people wouldn't notice the other bad things that they were doing. Well, I get into this company. I'm being trained to be a store manager, and I'm learning everything I can about the company because that's what you're supposed to do as a store manager. You should know the company and its processes really, really well. And so I'm looking into this, and I start realizing that I have been misclassified as far as overtime hours are concerned. Fun fact, a lot of people don't realize this. Just because you have a salary does not mean you're exempt from overtime pay. The Fair Wage and Standards Act, I think is what it's called, or Fair Labor Standards Act, something like that, actually has some very specific guidelines about who is exempt from overtime and who is not. And basically, in order for a business to get around paying you overtime, they have to qualify for one of 5, or your position has to qualify for one of 5 exemptions. And the exemption that is most often used is called the executive exemption. And basically, that's where you can say, well, they are a manager, and because a a majority of the duties that they do is not actively working this, actively doing things like stocking shelves or, doing other stuff like that. But a majority of the stuff that they did to do is management, that requires them sitting down and stuff like that. Then we're fine with them not having, being exempt from overtime. It's an extremely common exemption, and the vast majority of salaried managers actually do fall under this. However, because of the unique way that they ran their stores, despite the fact that I was going to be a store manager and I was basically an assistant store manager at there, both positions that normally would qualify under the executive exemption, because of how, excuse me, how they ran their stores, store managers technically weren't managers because they couldn't hire or fire anyone from their store. The regional manager actually had to do that for them, so they didn't have that authority. They didn't spend a lot of their time actually managing their staff because all the stores were run basically with a skeleton crew. Intentionally, they wanted to save on payroll, and the store itself did not require a ton of people working. Basically, for the store to function the way it needed to, you really only needed one person at the register and then one person going around and making sure it was a video rental store. I guess I can say that. Just going around and making sure that when videos or DVDs and Blu-rays were being returned, they were also being put back on the shelves. So it actually was not an incredibly complex thing. You generally could have one or two people running the entirety of your store and not be short-staffed or anything like that. It was a very efficient model. But because of that, a lot of times managers would work alone for the majority of their shift. And they would restock, and they would also do things like landscaping. Like I had to mow the lawn at a couple different stores that I trained at, and we had to clean the entire store and vacuum and all this stuff that in a lot of bigger companies, they actually will hire custodial staff to do stuff like that, or they'll hire landscaping crews. We had to shovel our own walkways because it was in Wisconsin, and so that's horrible. And if we couldn't find a local company that we could pay out of the till to do our snow removal, we'd have to do snow removal ourselves as well. So I realized, because I was going through a business law class right then. It was while I was trying to get my degree. And I realized this, and I assumed that I must have just misunderstood something. So I actually went and I called up the Department of Labor. And I did so without naming my business or anything, because I wasn't trying to get the business in trouble. I just wanted to do this. By the way, if you ever think something happening at your job is illegal or anything like that, the Department of Labor exists. It's 100% free to call them, and if they are doing something wrong, the Department of Labor will investigate it. It costs you nothing. So use them. That is what they're there for. So anyway, call up the Wisconsin Department of Labor, talk to a dude, describe the situation. He's like, yeah, you're there. That's a violation of labor laws. I said, okay, thanks for your time. He's like, would you like to file a complaint? I'm like, you know what? No, I think this is just a misunderstanding. I'm gonna talk to my boss, and we can probably get this figured out. It's kind of run like a mom and pop store, and a lot of small businesses break labor laws unintentionally all the time, and they just have no idea that they're doing it. And the legal system would prefer that companies deal with this stuff without going to court. So if there's ways to do it, they will generally allow it, as long as it's not exploitative or anything like that. So fast forward a little bit. I talked to my training manager, and then I actually sent an email off to the head of HR. And I go, hey, we've got a really big problem here. We've misclassified our assistant store managers and store managers as exempt from overtime hours. They're not. This could cost the company hundreds of millions of dollars if it goes to court and things like that. We don't want that. However, if we get in front of it, we can avoid having any investigations happen, and we can also avoid having to pay any penalties or fees or anything like that. And so I kind of outline, hey, we kind of have a couple different things we can do. The most likely thing that legally would protect us and would also take care of the employees is we basically give do like a company-wide message or email or something and go, hey, guess what? There was a mix-up with the pay of our managers and assistants store managers. So in order to kind of make up for the mistake, we're going to give you guys one of two options. You can take this lump sum payment right now to kind of make up for the accounting mistake, or we can just increase your hourly wage going forward by this amount. And then that will kind of, after you've been working for a while, not only will that make up for that, but it'll make up for future things. And we're going to change how we do the hours and things like that. So, and that's all we really would have had to do. And because the ownership of this company was incredibly corrupt, I got a phone call, not an email, nothing that could be traced. I got a phone call, and they basically said, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, I think I do. They said, no, you're wrong. You absolutely have no idea what you're talking about. I go, well, the Department of Labor agrees with me. And they're like, well, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, it doesn't matter if they know what they're talking about. They make the law. They make the rules, and they get to enforce the rules. So even if they're talking out of their ass, they're right. It's just how it goes. So if you want to argue with the Department of Labor, you're more than welcome to. I am not trying to get this company in trouble. I'm trying to protect it. And yeah, and then they started trying to fire me, and I got a lawyer, and it turned into this really big thing. And then I had a nervous breakdown and had to quit the company anyways. But anyway, so going back to that idea, basically what Logan Paul is doing here, probably under the advice of lawyers, because it's a very smart business move, is without admitting that he did anything wrong intentionally. And again, that's basically what I was pitching them, is like, we don't have to tell them that they were misclassified or anything like that. We just have to go, hey, something went wrong, and we're going to try and fix it. And legally, that isn't that isn't kind of accepting guilt or admitting guilt or anything like that. It's simply going, hey, there is a problem. They're acknowledging that there is a problem because there is, but they're not claiming ownership of the problem or anything. It's just, oh, there was a mistake. Again, extremely common thing to do in business. You never admit fault until the court order is actually forcing you to pay money. And that, again, that's business 101. Never admit fault. Even if you know that you're wrong, it's just a bad idea. So yeah, what they do is they go, hey, there is a problem, and this is how we're attempting to remedy it. If you agree to that remedy, you automatically no longer have the ability to sue, because you have already accepted reimbursement. You have already accepted a form of payment. And by accepting that, you're admitting, no, I no longer feel like I'm wronged, because I have accepted that this is worth the wrong. This is extremely, extremely common. And a lot of times when stuff like this happens, they will have a similar kind of clause in there somewhere going, hey, by the way, by accepting this, you are accepting the fact that this is how we are fixing this problem. So it's not that they're trying to scam anyone or anything. This is just how businesses work. And again, this is how it's designed to work. Our legal system is kind of based on the idea that the only people that are allowed to use the legal system to punish someone else are the people that were actually wronged by that other party. And as soon as you accept some form of reimbursement in some way, shape, or form, you are no longer wronged. The thing that caused you to be wronged, that gives you standing to be able to sue, has been dealt with. You have accepted something monetarily as compensation for that. And so that's closed. It's basically a way to kind of avoid extortion, kind of, in legal terms, where you can just go, well, maybe you should pay me, and maybe the lawsuit will go away. And they're like, yeah, totally, we'll pay you. We think it'd be great. And then they still sue, and they go, well, you still did something wrong, and I think the courts need to solve it. No, it was solved outside of court. And again, courts would really prefer for businesses to take care of things outside of court. Courts are massively slow. They're overwhelmed with cases. That's why so many cases just don't ever get the scrutiny that they really need to. And it's one of the reasons why prosecutors decline to prosecute a lot of cases, because it's just going to be a waste of everyone's time. So courts really, really do want stuff to be resolved out of court if possible. And court and legal proceedings should really be the last thing. And so this is an extremely common business practice to kind of deal with something before getting lawyers and lawsuits involved. Does that mean that Logan Paul is a saint or anything like that? No. Again, opinion, not fact or anything. This is my personal opinion, and therefore should not be defamation. Logan Paul is a scumbag. He's an absolutely horrible, disgusting individual, in my personal opinion. And I 100% think that there should be lawsuits for a lot of the different things that he has done. However, the idea that this particular aspect is somehow a scam is no. This is how businesses work. And I think everyone should be aware, if you are ever given a choice or given some sort of compensation for the business fixing a problem with payroll, with hiring practice, anything like that. If you are ever presented with some form of compensation for something that has happened at the business that shouldn't have, you, by accepting it, you are excluding your ability to sue for damages or file charges. That's how it works, because the entire purpose of filing charges or suing or anything like that is to get you compensated for the wrong that has happened. And if they've already compensated you, there's no reason to go to court. So understand, the stuff that's going on with Logan Paul right now is stupid. And again, I don't like the person. I think that they're a scumbag. However, this is really standard business practice. And if anything else has happened to you working for any other company, and you get a notice like this going, hey, something went wrong, and here is a way that we are going to take care of it for you. Understand, if you accept that compensation, you can no longer sue. If you go, if you try to sue, they're going to go, this matter has already been resolved, you've already been compensated, and they're going to dismiss the claim. So that's how business works, and it's done intentionally to avoid having to go to court every single time, which is expensive for absolutely everyone. I don't think it's a bad thing that this is how business works. I think it's a very good thing that businesses can take care of problems, because again, a lot of times, especially with small businesses, this stuff is completely unintentional. Again, not saying that's what happened with Logan Paul. I'm not defending that scumbag. I'm saying that in the broader business acumen and the broader business community, it's really, really common for small and medium-sized businesses to just not understand what the specific labor laws are in a lot of different situations, and for them to do things that are absolutely 100% illegal. I don't think that means that all these people should be going to jail or anything like that. It's people make mistakes. Again, not saying that's what's happening to Logan Paul. Please do not try to imply that I'm somehow defending him. The entire purpose of this is to just tell people this is how the business world works. And if something shady has gone on at a business that you work at and they are offering to compensate you for it, talk to a lawyer before accepting anything, because it may be that they are trying to manipulate the system and avoid having to go through a lawsuit that could close the company, or it could be that there was an honest mistake and they're trying to do good by it. But it's always a good idea to be wary of stuff like that, because this is intentionally how the law is supposed to work. So anyway, I just thought that with everything going on, people might like to know how actual businesses work. Because everyone that has been talking about this, every single person I've seen talk about this, 'cause I've watched a few videos on it and seen some articles are just talking about, this is another scam. It's not a scam. It's how business works. And if you had just a basic understanding of how businesses are run, you would know that. But everyone talking about it, which is extremely common, just doesn't understand how businesses work, and therefore they are letting their opinion of this scumbag flavor their coverage of it. And a lot of it's unintentional. Again, business is a really complicated thing. It's the reason I have a degree in it, and I spent almost a decade learning how to run a business. And I'm really good at it. If I wasn't disabled, I would probably, at this point, I would probably have my own, I would be a regional manager in some company, because I was that good. So yeah, this is just, actually, to be perfectly honest, if I had become disabled, and everything went the way I wanted it to, I would be working for a nonprofit and making six figures, because I was offered that position. And we raised something like $330 million for the nonprofit to start, and then we got blocked by a stupid city planner. And they wouldn't allow us to buy the land that we needed for the nonprofit. Yeah, I could have been making a six-figure salary, guys, and doing exactly what I wanted. It would have been training for the entire company, and yeah, it would have been so great, guys. Never happened, and it really upsets me. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because, again, I have a degree in business, and it's just so common to watch people that have no idea how business works, when they discover that this is how things are, that they immediately think that there's something wrong. No, this is intentional. It's designed to do this, and it's a good thing that companies can do this. But it's something that a lot of employees don't understand, because they have either intentionally been uninformed or just simply hasn't taken the time to inform themselves. Another opinion here, so please don't believe this is a fact or anything. It's one, in my opinion, it's one of the things that a lot of unions count on, is that you don't understand what your rights already are, because then they can claim, well, if you don't have a union, then you're gonna, they're gonna be able to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and we protect you from all of that. They actually don't. Probably 95% of unions in the U.S. are completely worthless, because the protection that they give you already exists. And in order to take advantage of those protections, all you have to do is make a single phone call to the Department of Labor in your state. Like, you don't even need federal or anything. You just look up your state Department of Labor, and they take care of everything for you. The unions are simply there to take your money and enrich the union reps, in my opinion. So, anyway, that's gonna be all for me today. As always, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Daily vlogging is still kind of fun for me, so we will see how much longer this lasts, but I'm enjoying it, and I hope you guys are too. Otherwise, again, it's all for me today. I will see you guys tomorrow. All right? Bye-bye.